ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta. Sana
Tears and triumph collided in one of the most emotional moments the tennis world has witnessed in years as Alex Eala stunned everyone by opening up about her dark past just hours before delivering a shocking upset involving Venus Williams. Welcome back, the place where the biggest stories, rawest emotions, and most jaw-dropping moments in the sport come together. Today's story isn't just about a match result or a famous name losing early. It's about the real cost of chasing greatness, the pain hidden behind bright smiles, and a young athlete who refused to let her past define her future. What unfolded in Auckland wasn't just tennis. It was a human story that shook the foundations of the WTA Tour and forced fans to see rising stars through a very different lens. Before a single ball was struck, before the crowd filled the stadium and the cameras zoomed in on familiar faces, Alex Eala dropped a bombshell that no one saw coming. In a moment of stunning vulnerability, the 20-year-old Filipino sensation peeled back the curtain on her life and revealed a truth that left fans, analysts, and fellow players in stunned silence. This wasn't the glamorous tale of luxury travel and sponsorship deals that people often associate with young professionals. This was a story of isolation, pain, and mental battles fought far away from home. Alex spoke openly about her teenage years in the United States, describing them as some of the darkest periods of her life. She confessed through tears that she struggled with severe mental health issues while training in a hyper-competitive environment that showed her little mercy. Thousands of miles away from her family, she felt alone in a system that cared more about results than people. She described being bullied and ignored, singled out simply because she was an Asian girl trying to make it in American tennis. While the world saw a talented junior climbing the rankings, behind closed doors she was fighting a war in her own head. The locker rooms were silent, the smiles were forced, and the sense of belonging never came. This revelation hit fans hard because it shattered a comforting illusion. We often assume that young athletes living the dream are immune to the struggles that affect everyone else. Alex made it painfully clear that talent does not protect you from loneliness. Success does not shield you from prejudice. And ambition does not erase mental health struggles. She wasn't just battling opponents across the net. She was battling isolation, cultural barriers, and emotional exhaustion while the spotlight stayed firmly on her forehand and footwork. For many watching, this confession reframed everything. Every fist pump, every scream of "come on," every emotional reaction on court suddenly carried deeper meaning. It wasn't just about winning points. It was about survival. It was about proving to herself and the world that she belonged in a space that once made her feel invisible. Hours after laying bare her deepest struggles, Alex Eala stepped onto the hard courts of the ASB Classic in Auckland. The timing alone made it extraordinary. Most athletes would need days, even weeks, to recover emotionally from such public vulnerability. Alex had no such luxury. She had a match to play, and not just any match. She was entering a doubles contest against absolute royalty. Teaming up with American rising star Iva Jovic, the two teenagers formed a partnership with an average age of just 19. On the other side of the net stood Venus Williams, a 7-time Grand Slam singles champion and one of the most iconic figures in sports history, alongside Ukrainian powerhouse Elena Svitolina, a multiple Grand Slam semi-finalist and Olympic medalist. Combined, the veterans brought decades of experience, intimidation, and trophies to the court. On paper, it looked like a mismatch designed to teach the kids a lesson. The Auckland crowd was buzzing with anticipation, eager to watch Venus Williams do what she has done for nearly 3 decades. The atmosphere crackled as the legends walked out, and early on, it seemed the script would follow expectations. The first set became a brutal battle of attrition. Williams and Svitolina used their courtcraft and heavy ground strokes to push the teenagers around, forcing them to defend, scramble, and think fast. It was high-quality, old-school doubles tennis mixed with modern power. The set went to a tiebreak, and that's where the night took a dramatic turn. The veterans earned set point. Then another. And another. In total, they held 7 set points. 7 moments where experience, history, and logic suggested the match would tilt firmly in their favor. Each time, the crowd braced for the inevitable. And each time, Alex Eala and Iva Jovic refused to break. What followed was a masterclass in mental toughness that seemed almost impossible given what Alex had just revealed about her past. Facing Venus Williams on set point is enough to make seasoned professionals tighten up. Alex did the opposite. She swung freely, trusted her instincts, and played fearless tennis. Winners flew past the legends. Returns landed on the line. Volleys were punched away with conviction. One by one, all 7 set points disappeared. With each save, the teenagers grew more confident while frustration crept into the veterans' body language. The tiebreak turned, momentum shifted, and suddenly the unthinkable happened. Eala and Jovic stole the first set 9-7. You could feel the air drain from the stadium. The shock wasn't just that the youngsters won the set. It was how they won it. They stared down history and didn't blink. That single tiebreak changed everything. For Williams and Svitolina, it was a psychological blow. They had thrown their best punch and missed. They had relied on experience and couldn't close. For the teenagers, belief flooded in. The second set told the story of a match that had completely flipped. Eala and Jovic came out playing loose, aggressive, and joyful tennis, as if a weight had been lifted. The veterans, by contrast, looked deflated and heavy-legged. What followed was a bling-canule misit demolition. The youngsters dropped just one game, steamrolling to a 6-1 second set and sealing a stunning 7-6, 6-1 victory in just under an hour and a half. It was a statement win to open the 2026 season, and the emotional contrast couldn't have been sharper. Hours earlier, Alex Eala had been in tears, talking about pain, bullying, and isolation. Now she was smiling ear to ear, sharing the court with her childhood idols and beating them. In her post-match comments, she spoke with joy and gratitude, saying she had such a good time on court and felt honored to share the stage with pioneers of the sport she had looked up to since she was young. There was poetry in it. The girl who once felt ignored and unwanted had just owned the biggest stage in Auckland. This wasn't just a doubles win. It was vindication. It was proof that the battles she survived off the court forged the steel she showed on it. And as the tennis world tried to process what it had just seen, one thing became clear. Alex Eala's story was only beginning. The significance of Alex Eala's victory in Auckland stretches far beyond the scoreboard, because what we witnessed was not simply an upset, but a collision between generations, mental states, and philosophies of sport. When the dust settled after that stunning doubles win, it became clear that this moment represented a shift that tennis fans have been sensing for years. The new generation is no longer waiting patiently for opportunities. They are taking them, often in dramatic fashion, and Alex Eala's performance alongside Iva Jovic was a perfect example of that hunger. But to fully understand why this match mattered so much, we need to dig deeper into the psychological and tactical layers that defined it. On paper, Venus Williams and Alina Svitolina held every advantage imaginable. Experience, physical presence, big match composure, and an intimidating aura built over decades at the top of the sport. Venus alone has played more Grand Slam matches than Eala has played professional tournaments. She's seen every possible scenario tennis can throw at a player. Svitolina, too, has lived inside the top 10, battled the best in the world, and thrived under pressure. Normally, that kind of pedigree overwhelms teenagers. Young players tend to play safe, hope the legends miss, and wait for mistakes that rarely come. But Eala and Jovic didn't play like kids hoping to survive. They played like competitors who believed they belonged. That belief was evident in their shot selection, their movement, and most importantly, their body language. Even when they fell behind in the first set, they didn't drop their shoulders or look to the sidelines for reassurance. They communicated, adjusted, and kept attacking. The tie-break became the psychological battleground where this belief was truly tested. Each saved set point chipped away at the veterans' confidence and reinforced the teenagers' sense of inevitability. By the time the first set was over, the roles had reversed. Suddenly, it was Williams and Svitolina who looked tense, while Eala and Jovic played with freedom. This is where Alex Eala's earlier confession takes on deeper meaning. Mental health struggles, when confronted and processed, can sometimes forge extraordinary resilience. Having already fought battles far more personal and painful than a tennis match, Eala seemed immune to the pressure that normally crushes young players. A set point against Venus Williams didn't scare her because she had already survived worse moments away from the spotlight. That perspective is powerful. It transforms pressure into opportunity. It turns fear into fuel. The second set reflected that transformation. Eala's ground strokes became more penetrating, her movement sharper, her decision-making faster. She wasn't just reacting. She was dictating. Jovic complemented her perfectly, covering the net with confidence and matching her intensity point for point. Meanwhile, the veterans struggled to reset emotionally. Tennis is ruthless in this way. Momentum doesn't care about legacy. Once it shifts, it demands immediate answers, and on this night, the answers didn't come. The generational aspect of this match cannot be ignored. Venus Williams is 44 years old, a living legend who has reshaped women's tennis through power, presence, and persistence. She turned professional in 1994, before Alex Eala was even born. She's played through multiple eras, adapting her game as the sport evolved around her. But time remains undefeated. No matter how iconic the name, the sport eventually asks difficult questions. Losses like this don't erase greatness, but they do signal transition. They remind fans and players alike that the torch is being passed, sometimes abruptly. For Eala and Jovic, this match could serve as a launching pad. Signature wins early in a season can change the trajectory of a career. They provide belief that training sessions alone can't manufacture. They tell young players that they are capable of beating anyone on any given day. That belief often separates good professionals from great ones. But celebration must be tempered with realism. Double success, while valuable, doesn't always translate directly to singles dominance. Doubles allows players to share responsibility, mask weaknesses, and lean on partnership during difficult moments. Singles is far more unforgiving. It's just you, your thoughts, and the opponent across the net. That's why Alex Eala's upcoming singles challenge carries enormous weight. Facing Donna Vekic is an entirely different test. Vekic is experienced, powerful, and proven on big stages. She's reached career-high rankings inside the top 20 and recently showcased her class by reaching the Olympic final in Paris. Her game is built on aggression, heavy serves, and relentless baseline pressure. She won't be intimidated by headlines or emotional narratives. She'll see Eala as a talented young opponent who must be challenged early and often. For Eala, this match will answer critical questions. Can she manage the emotional aftermath of her confession and doubles victory? Can she handle being the story instead of the underdog? Can she execute tactically against a player who won't give her time to settle? These are the moments that define seasons and, sometimes, careers. The context of the ASB Classic adds another layer of importance. This tournament is the final major tune-up before the Australian Open, the first Grand Slam of the year. Every player in Auckland is searching for rhythm, confidence, and clarity. For veterans, it's about fine-tuning. For younger players, it's about opportunity. Strong performances here can lead to better draws, more wildcards, and increased visibility. For Alex Eala, Auckland represents a chance to carry momentum into Melbourne and announce herself on one of the sport's biggest stages. The Australian Open looms large. The Philippines has never produced a Grand Slam singles champion, and while it's far too early to place that kind of expectation on a 20-year-old, the symbolism matters. Representation matters. Eala's presence alone inspires a generation of young Filipino players who now see someone like them competing at the highest level. That inspiration becomes even more powerful when paired with honesty about struggle. Her willingness to speak openly about bullying and mental health resonates far beyond tennis. It taps into a global conversation about the hidden costs of elite sport. In recent years, athletes like Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles have forced the sports world to confront uncomfortable truths. Excellence often comes with anxiety, isolation, and immense psychological pressure. Alex Eala's story adds another vital voice to that conversation, particularly for international players navigating foreign systems far from home. Her confession didn't just humanize her. It empowered others. Fans flooded social media with messages of support, sharing their own stories of feeling isolated, bullied, or unseen. In doing so, Eala inadvertently created a community around vulnerability and resilience. But alongside the support came hard questions. Who allowed a teenage athlete to feel so alone? Were there systemic failures within training environments? Were warning signs ignored? These questions don't have easy answers, but they demand attention. The tennis establishment has made strides in recent years by offering mental health resources and partnerships, yet stories like Eala's suggest there is still work to be done, especially for young international players facing cultural and social barriers. Coaches, academies, and governing bodies must do more to create inclusive environments where players are supported as people, not just performers. As the season unfolds, Alex Eala now carries more than a racket onto the court. She carries expectations, attention, and the weight of her own truth. How she navigates this new reality will shape the next phase of her journey. Talent and toughness are evident. The question is sustainability. Can she protect her mental well-being while chasing excellence? Can she balance ambition with self-care in a sport that rarely slows down? These are challenges even seasoned champions struggle with. But if Auckland taught us anything, it's that Alex Eala has already developed a resilience that statistics can't measure. She has faced rejection, isolation, and self-doubt, and she is still standing, still swinging, still smiling. That combination of vulnerability and strength might be her greatest asset as she steps into the spotlight of the 2026 season. As the echoes of that unforgettable night in Auckland continue to ripple through the tennis world, the focus now shifts from a single stunning upset to the broader journey unfolding in front of Alex Eala. Moments like these often become turning points, the kind that players look back on years later and identify as the instant everything changed. For Eala, the combination of her emotional confession and her fearless performance against legends has elevated her from promising prospect to one of the most compelling figures of the early 2026 season. The spotlight, however, brings its own challenges. Increased attention can amplify pressure, expectations, and scrutiny, especially for a young athlete still finding her footing at the professional level. How Eala manages this transition will determine whether this moment becomes a foundation or a fleeting highlight. The tennis calendar offers no pause for reflection. Matches come quickly, narratives evolve overnight, and yesterday's heroics can be forgotten with one tough loss. That reality makes Eala's next steps critically important. Her singles match against Donna Vekic stands as a measuring stick, not just of her physical game but of her emotional equilibrium. Singles tennis strips everything down to its rawest form. There is no partner to lean on, no shared responsibility. Every decision, every mistake, and every triumph belongs solely to the player. For someone who has just opened up about mental health struggles, this environment can feel both liberating and unforgiving. The key for Eala will be staying present, focusing on patterns and execution rather than outcomes or expectations. Vekic will test her patience, her defensive skills, and her ability to absorb pace. It will require discipline, resilience, and belief. Regardless of the result, the way Eala competes will speak volumes about her readiness for the next level. Beyond Auckland, the Australian Open represents the next major chapter. Walking into Melbourne Park is a vastly different experience from playing a warm-up event. The crowds are larger, the stakes higher, and the pressure more intense. For Eala, simply being there is an achievement, but she won't be content with participation. Her recent performances suggest she's hungry for more. She now knows she can stand across the net from icons and not flinch. That knowledge is transformative. It changes how a player prepares, how they visualize success, and how they respond when momentum swings against them. For Filipino fans, Eala's rise carries enormous emotional weight. The Philippines is a nation passionate about sports, but representation at the highest levels of global tennis has been rare. Eala's presence on the WTA Tour already marks a historic shift, and her success amplifies that impact. She is no longer just playing for herself. She is inspiring young players across Southeast Asia who see in her a reflection of their own dreams. That sense of purpose can be a powerful motivator, but it can also be heavy. Managing national expectations is a challenge many great athletes face, and learning to carry that responsibility without letting it consume you is a skill developed over time. What makes Eala's story resonate so deeply is not just her talent, but her honesty. In a sporting culture that often celebrates invincibility, she chose vulnerability. She spoke about pain that many athletes feel but rarely articulate. In doing so, she reframed strength as something multidimensional. Strength is not just hitting harder or running faster. It is asking for help. It is surviving difficult environments. It is showing up again after feeling invisible. That message extends beyond tennis courts and trophy ceremonies. It reaches classrooms, locker rooms, and households around the world where young people struggle with identity, belonging, and mental health. Eala's willingness to speak openly gives permission for others to do the same. That is a legacy that transcends rankings. Of course, the road ahead will not be smooth. Setbacks are inevitable. Losses will come. There will be matches where confidence wavers and doubt creeps back in. The difference now is awareness. Eala has acknowledged her struggles instead of burying them, and that awareness can be a source of stability when challenges arise. The support she has received since her confession has been overwhelming, creating a network of encouragement that didn't exist when she was a teenager training alone far from home. Knowing you are not alone changes everything. It doesn't eliminate pressure, but it makes it manageable. The tennis establishment, too, is watching closely. Stories like Eala's place responsibility on governing bodies, academies, and coaches to reflect on their practices. Young athletes, particularly those from different cultural backgrounds, need more than technical development. They need emotional support, inclusion, and mentorship. The future of the sport depends not just on producing champions, but on protecting the people who chase those dreams. Eala's experience serves as both a warning and a guide. It highlights what can go wrong when mental health is ignored and what can be achieved when resilience is nurtured. As the 2026 season unfolds, Alex Eala's name will continue to surface in conversations, previews, and predictions. Some will label her a future star. Others will urge caution. Both perspectives are fair. Potential is not destiny. What is undeniable, however, is that she has already made an impact far beyond her age. She has reminded fans why sports matter. Not because of perfect performances, but because of imperfect humans striving under extraordinary pressure. Her journey from a bullied teenager to a player capable of toppling legends encapsulates the essence of competition and perseverance. It shows that greatness is not a straight line. It is shaped by setbacks, struggles, and the courage to keep going. Looking ahead, the question is not whether Alex Eala will face challenges. She will. The real question is how she will respond when they come. If Auckland is any indication, she will respond with honesty, grit, and fearless tennis. She will continue to grow, learn, and adapt. And in doing so, she will inspire countless others who see in her story a reflection of their own battles. This is why her journey matters. This is why fans are invested. This is why the tennis world is paying attention. Alex Eala has already shown that vulnerability and strength can coexist, that pain can be transformed into power, and that the human spirit can rise even in the most demanding environments. As Champions Tennis, we'll be watching every step of that journey, because stories like this remind us that behind every serve, every rally, and every victory, there is a human being with a story worth telling. Alex Eala told hers, and it resonated. The next chapters are still unwritten, full of uncertainty, challenge, and possibility. One thing is certain. This is not the end of the story. It's only the beginning.